What's good? It's Trollbot.exe, and welcome back to Trollbot Studios, where you can see a new video from me. Let's go! And today we're gonna be talking about anime music. Yeah, another random topic on Trollbot Studios. And we are going to talk about the different patterns it took. Primarily, we're going to talk about the patterns in shonen and mecha anime, as those are the two genres that I'm most familiar with. So, let's get to it! So, we really started in the 1960s with Mighty Atom / Astro Boy, which kinda set the precedent for the 60s openings, and probably by extension the 70s. At the time, they didn't really put a lot of money into the music. In fact, until the late 60s, anime and tokusatsu didn't even have ending themes. It just ended with the final shot of the episode. While the style of music really did not change all that much throughout the 60s and 70s, the only change that happened was during the late 60s, and this is according to a video, with the advent of a new term that I just heard of called Gekiga, which literally translates to graphic novel. Do not let the term mislead you. The movement Gekiga was a shift towards more realistic art and deeper storytelling than what was present before, proving that anime wasn't just for kids. And from that, we got titles such as Lupin the Third and Ashita no Joe. But more important than those two are Tiger Mask, with music done by Shunsuke Kikuchi from Dragon Ball and Kamen Rider, which he would work on later. And the ending theme to Tiger Mask forever changed anime ending themes, as the songs for the endings would go in a more slower route, often dour. And there is a pattern that would be seen. More specifically, anime and tokusatsu always had a monkey see, monkey do relationship. What anime would do first, tokusatsu would follow. So, tokusatsu began including ending themes in their shows, bringing us to 1971's Kamen Rider. And as I stated before, this was also composed by Kikuchi. The Kamen Rider franchise, well, up until Super 1 at least, did not follow this trend of slower, more downbeat endings, with Kamen Rider's third ending and Sky Rider's first ending being the only exceptions, and even then to a much lesser margin than what was previously seen by Kikuchi. 1972 also saw the release of two big anime, Gatchaman and Mazinger Z. Let's first talk about Gatchaman. So, Gatchaman's opening and ending was actually composed by a guy named Issei Kobayashi and arranged by the series composer Bob Sakuma. And for Mazinger Z, the opening and ending was composed / arranged by Chume Watanabe, who also composed the music for the actual series proper. Yeah, these two anime alongside Kamen Rider would define tokusatsu and anime music for the 1970s. The 70s music. The 70s openings. Yeah, they kind of sounded like the same song. Again, they still didn't put a lot of money into the music, but still. The notable details being the overbearing presence of trumpets, sometimes a guitar, and usually a rare presence of drums. It was like finding water in the desert. Yeah, you know mumble rap? It was just that, but back in the 70s. Oh, and you thought the actual music itself was dry? Yeah, the lyrics comparison was like the Sahara Desert. Dry. Yeah. All they had to do was switch the titles and call it a day. I bet that was the process. This even held up for anime like Mobile Suit Gundam. Yeah, the original series from 1979. And the Robot Romance trilogy, plus Daltanius. However, the moment we stepped into 1980, things began to change. Notably, not to as much of a degree as what would follow in the coming years. However, there was a lot more drums, and the music had a little more variety, especially when it comes down to the lyrics. Such examples include Ashita no Joe 2, Astro Boy 1980, God Sigma, and Ideon. So for 1980, it was the same style, but there was a lot more variety. However, that was just foreshadowing what would come in the years later. However, another piece of foreshadowing is that during the 70s, where anime music practically sounded the same overall, there were notable outliers such as Captain Harlock and Lupin III, and Captain Future, with styles that would not be too out of place in the early 80s, aka 1980 to 1982. However, in 83 and 84, we would see the biggest change, as they finally put more money into the music, sometimes having nothing to do with the anime at all, with titles such as Galvion and Zeta Gundam. It was also during these 2 years where we would see a shift, when the music would finally catch up with the actual times. So those styles of the 70s were now long gone, and it only went up from there. As the styles evolved, anime kept that same energy it had during the shift between 1983 and 84. Except for the music, that changed with the times. Oh, and during the late 80s and 90s, we actually got albums full of songs that never appeared in the series proper, with shows like Dragon Ball Z taking advantage of that. During that period, some anime songs would actually become big hits in Japan, such as Pokemon's Aim to Be a Pokemon Master, sung by Rika Matsumoto. Okay, back to the Tokusatsu world. Tokusatsu more followed the same path, although naturally being a couple of years slow. However, the lyrics did not change all that much, or at least not until the 2000s. So I don't really have much to say about it anymore. And back to the anime world. So during the late 90s, the pattern has become noticeable. How hit songs would actually be used in the anime as openings and endings. One notable example being Dragon Ball GT's opening and endings, which, unlike Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, were not created for the show itself. They just took the hit song and put it into the show. This precedent would eventually become the norm in the late 2000s and early 2010s. And eventually, we arrive at now, where anime music sounds the same all over again, like in the 1970s. except it's random pop songs being placed into the actual anime. So we kind of gone partially full circle. History does repeat itself. So that was the end of that. So what to do for next video? I'll probably do another one of my real life stories, like with the Florida ones. But this time, it doesn't take place on a trip. So, be on the lookout for that one. And in the meantime, later, fool.
万代のプラモデル機動戦士ガンダム